I put the line through her name myself. That is the fact I carry, and I will not soften it. At 2,140 hours in the mission planning room at FOB Lassen, with 27 operators seated in folding chairs and Captain Bren Holloway, that is me, standing at the assignment board, I looked at her name, Specialist Dara Weiss, and I drew one clean horizontal line through it with a red marker. I said, loud enough for the room, Field Medic. She rides the casualty collection point. She does not go downrange. Then I moved to the next block without waiting for questions. She was seated in the back row, fourth chair from the left. I know that because I looked at her when I said it. Old habit, confirmed the message landed. Her face did not change. She held her notebook on her knee and made one small note with her pen. I did not know what she wrote. I told myself it did not matter. The mission was a corridor clearance through the Vellard Ravine, a 2-kilometer slot in the rock that our lead element needed to hold for 4 hours while a convoy of 27 medics, logistics, 2 embedded reporters, the battalion commander's aide, rolled through from the northern staging post to FOB Lassen. The problem was a confirmed 19-man blocking force dug into the ravine's eastern shelf, waiting. Our assault elements, 2 6-man teams, would push in from the south access point, clear the shelf, and signal green for the convoy to move. I had run this kind of corridor clearance a dozen times. It was not a complex problem. It was a shooter's problem, and I had shooters. What I did not have, as of 0214 hours, was a corridor. The first contact report came in at 0214, Bravo element, pinned at the south access, 1 man down, a second with a leg wound, taking fire from a third position we had not mapped. Lima element, which had taken the alternate approach to the West Ridge, was cut off entirely by a secondary force our pre-mission intelligence had not identified. The convoy was staged 4 kilometers north of the ravine, engines idling, and my radio operator was telling me the colonel's aide had been on the net twice asking for a green signal that was not coming. I had 27 people sitting in trucks in the dark waiting on a corridor that 2 6-man teams could not hold open. At 0221, my radio operator, Sergeant First Class Devlin Marsh, came to me at the TOC table. He said it quietly, so only I heard it. Sir, Specialist Weiss is requesting permission to move forward to the south access point. I told him no. He waited. He had been my radio operator for 19 months and he knew when I had not finished thinking, but he also knew when he had something to add. He said, Sir, she says she knows the eastern shelf. I told him no again, and I meant it. She was a medic. I had put her at the casualty collection point for a reason. The south access was a shooting problem, not a medical one, and I was not going to send a specialist with a trauma kit into a blocked corridor. At 0238, Lima Element's team leader came on the net. His voice was flat and hard, the way a man speaks when he is conserving. He said they were taking fire from 2 elevations, 1 man down, and they could not move in any direction. He said the secondary force was estimated at 11 men. He said he needed a solution by 0300 or the corridor was lost for the night and the convoy would have to pull back to the staging post and wait for daylight, which meant waiting in the open, which meant exposure. At 0241, I gave Specialist Weiss permission to move forward. I told myself I was out of options. That was true. I did not tell myself anything about being wrong about her, because at that moment I still believed what I believed, that she was a medic filling a gap, that a real solution was still coming from somewhere, that this was a stopgap measure until one of my elements found a way to push. I gave her a radio frequency, told her to report contact and nothing more, and I watched her take her rifle off the rack on the TOC wall, check the chamber once, and move out the door into the dark. She did not look back. What happened over the next 4 hours and 51 minutes, I learned from 3 sources: the radio log, the after-action report filed by Sergeant First Class Marsh, and the testimony of Lima Element's team leader, Staff Sergeant Oral Gentry, who watched part of it from the West Ridge through his optic. She did not go to the south access point. She went up. There is a limestone escarpment running parallel to the Vellard Ravine's eastern wall, approximately 40 meters above the shelf where the blocking force was dug in. It is not on most tactical overlays because it requires a specific approach, a dry creek gully from the northern edge, then a vertical crawl over loose rock for 30 meters, that most planners do not include in a 4-hour corridor clearance brief. The approach takes 22 minutes in daylight. She did it in 14, in the dark, with her rifle slung. She keyed her radio once at 0305 and said 2 words, "Position set." I heard it at the TOC and I did not know what to do with it. Position where? Set for what? I told Marsh to ask for a grid. She gave one. I looked at it on the map and did not understand what I was looking at for 5 full seconds. Then I understood. She was above them. The first confirmed shot came at 0307. The after-action report documents it at 340 meters, eastern shelf, the blocking force's northernmost position. Staff Sergeant Gentry, watching from the West Ridge, reported that the fire from the eastern shelf paused for approximately 40 seconds after that shot. He said, in his after-action statement, that the pause was the kind that happens when a unit is trying to identify where the contact is coming from and cannot. The second shot came at 0311. Third at 0318. She was not firing fast. She was firing carefully, working the shelf from north to south, and each time the blocking force shifted or repositioned she was already ahead of the adjustment. Gentry said later that watching her work from above was like watching someone solve a problem on paper, methodical, unhurried, each step following from the one before with a logic that was only visible in retrospect. By 0340 the eastern shelf was reduced from 19 confirmed to 12. The secondary force engaging Lima element began to pull back at 0352, not because of direct contact with Weiss, but because the eastern shelf suppression had opened a firing angle for Gentry's team that had not existed before she moved. Lima element pushed through their position at 0401 and established a hold at the corridor's midpoint. I gave the convoy a provisional green at 0408. She held the escarpment position until the last vehicle cleared the south end of the Vellard ravine at 0512. She keyed the radio at 0513 and said, "Corridors clear." 7 confirmed on the shelf. Coming down. 7 confirmed kills. 4 hours and 51 minutes. Alone on a limestone escarpment in the dark, above a 19-man blocking force, with no support and no extraction if she had been found. I did not say anything when she came back in. I am not proud of that. She set her rifle on the rack, made a note in her notebook, and went to the casualty collection point to check on the 2 wounded from Bravo element. I watched her go and I still did not say anything. I told myself there would be a debrief. I told myself there would be a correct moment. There was not a correct moment that night, and I did not make one. The after-action review was held at FOB Lassen at 1400 hours the following afternoon. The J2 officer, Major Theo Ferrant, conducted the review. There were 11 people in the room, my 2 team leaders, 4 senior NCOs, Major Ferrant, the battalion S6, the battalion's judge advocate, myself, and Specialist Dara Weiss, seated again in the back, 4th chair from the left. Major Ferrant went through the timeline. He was precise and thorough and he did not editorialize. When he reached the 0305 timestamp, position set, he stopped. He said, "Before I continue, I want to address the classified operational record for the individual who held the escarpment position." He opened a manila folder and placed a single sheet on the table. He read from it without introduction. The name on the classified jacket was not Dara Weiss. The name on the classified jacket was Voss Lark. Major Ferrant read the record. 2 distinguished service crosses. A silver star with oak leaf cluster. Branch record for solo corridor defense, set 4 years earlier in a theater I will not name, when she held a 2-kilometer choke point for 6 hours and 12 minutes against a 23-man force and brought out a 7-man recon element that had been written off as unextractable. Certified precision long-range shooter, qualified at ranges the room's most experienced operators had not attempted. Classified rating, Tier 1 solo operator, unattached. She had been embedded at FOB Lassen on a separate operational mandate that did not appear in any document I had access to. She had been assigned to my unit as a field medic. I did not know because I had not been told. She had not told me herself, because she had not been authorized to. She had sat in the back row of my mission brief and written one small note in her notebook while I drew a line through her name and told the room she was not a shooter. Major Ferrant finished reading and closed the folder. He set it flat on the table with both hands, the way you set something down when you want the room to understand that you are done speaking. I was standing at the side of the table. I looked at her. She was looking at the table in front of her, not at me, the same level expression she had worn when I crossed her name off the roster. Composed. Waiting for whatever came next, the way a person waits who has been waiting a long time and has learned that waiting is simply part of the work. I walked the length of the table. It is not a long table. 12 feet, perhaps 14. It took 8 steps. I have walked to present colors at a regimental review, walked to a flag-draped casket at a funeral in the rain, walked a flight line alone to meet a returning aircraft, and none of those walks were as long as those 14 feet in that after-action room with 11 people watching and no sound except my boots on the concrete floor. I came to attention in front of her and I rendered a formal salute. She looked up. Her expression did not change, not relief, not vindication, not anything theatrical. She looked at me the way you look at someone when you are deciding whether the gesture is sincere. Then she returned the salute. Clean and correct, the way everything she did was clean and correct. Behind me, without any command given, I heard the room come to attention. She held the salute for a full 3 seconds. Then she lowered her hand, picked up her pen, and made another note in her notebook. I did not ask what she wrote. I know what I took from that room. I had believed, without examining the belief, that the way a person arrived told you something certain about what they were capable of. That a field medic was a field medic. That a name at the bottom of the assignment list stayed at the bottom. I had run the calculation in the mission brief at 2,140 hours and the calculation had been fast and clean and completely wrong, and 27 people had ridden through the Vellard ravine alive because she had not waited for me to be right. There is a red marker on my desk at FOB Lassen. I have not used it since that night. Not because I made a rule about it, I did not make a rule about it. I left it there as a reminder, the way you leave a thing where you can see it. Some mornings I pick it up and set it back down. Some mornings I write a name on a planning board and I read the name twice before I move to the next block. It takes about 4 seconds. She held a corridor for 4 hours and 51 minutes. The least I owe her is 4 seconds.